What's up, guys? We're at the Kingdom Invitational. You know when this tournament comes to town, obviously the tour truck comes to town. When the tour truck comes to town, the absolute legend, my all-time hero, Wade Liles joins us. So today we're going to bring you tales from the tour. We're going to play a little story tell with Mr. Wade Liles. What's up, fella?
Nothing much. How you doing, Trotty? It's been a while.
It's been a while. Don't get to see as much as I used to, but it's good. We can catch up.
Trust me, you are missed out here.
I appreciate that.
I miss you. Everyone else does too. So
we're sat here in the tour truck with the usual chaos around us. I was going to set the scene, but there's no point. This is a pretty normal scene. We got a breakfast burrito. We got Diet Cokes. I mean, over the years, this is kind of how it happens, right? And you've got this nice little chill area going.
pretty much, yeah. Until the workload comes in, we pretty much relax. We chill out. We figure out what we're going to do. Get game plans, tell stories about what we did over the weekend, and then just get ready for the storm to hit.
So with Tales from the Tour, obviously folks want to know, in this hangout area, who's been the one that's taken advantage of this the most, who's been the one who's been on here maybe with their kids, who's taken advantage of the PlayStation stuff, watch TV and rain breaks.
Well, yeah, I mean, when Dash was younger, Jason Day and him would come in here, and I would put the PlayStation on upstairs, and they would go up there. They play video games, they hang out. Not too many players bring their kids anymore, as you know, to the tournaments. But Rory came in, you know, we played PGA Tour, McIlroy version. He signed the PlayStation box for me, which was really super cool. But yeah, I mean, even if the guys don't want work done, they normally come in here just to say hi and hang out.
I know when I first got on the PGA Tour, one of the things that struck me, and he was a lot younger at that time, and now he's a young adult, is the relationship that you have with Little John. I mean, John Daly and Little John, they were on a lot.
We used to babysit Little John. When John Daly came out to play in the Pro-Am, he would come in here and he'd say, hey, and that's when I was working with Henry, and he'd be, can you guys watch Little John? Yeah, sure, bring him in here. So we actually, it was called, we had a daycare in here too. So Daly would be out playing, we're in here building John golf clubs and everything. So it was fun, you know, hey, do what we do to make the guys happy.
I mean, it's pretty awesome to see. He's turned out to be such a nice guy. I was in Florida at Streamsong for an AJGA event. He came across the room to see me. It was a weather break. And he's like, thank you so much for being here. And how's Wade? Asked after you. Like, thank you so much for all you've done over the years. I mean, what a great kid.
Yeah, the few tournaments I've done, I've seen him a few times, so we've definitely caught up. He turned out to be a great little young adult, and hopefully he'll be out here soon. I'd love to build golf clubs for him out here on the PGA field.
Talking about great kids, Darren Clarke's son is also a top boy, and then that makes me think about Clarke over the years in here, the dilemma of having clubs built on different trucks, because there's a few of these trucks around the world. You got this one, you got the European Tour, you got Japan, you got Korea, Australia, obviously South Africa's a little caravan. What challenges does that have for you as the builder when Clarke would come over and he might have had 3 weeks, 4 weeks in Europe?
Well, yeah, I mean, all these trailers, we all have different machines, even though some of the machines are completely different. But some of the machines are the same, but just because you have two machines that are the same don't mean they measure the same. So what we have to do is, if someone says bend my 6-iron a half degree, I'm like, just bring me your whole set because it was done somewhere else, and then I'll go through the whole set and see the progression, and then if the 6-iron is off, then I will go ahead and bend it, but I just won't bend it a half degree flat, because I don't know what the rest of the set is.
Yeah. So
that's one thing we have to watch out for. I wish there was more of a consistent machinery for the tour. Every ruler is different. So my truck measures 3/4 longer than other trailers, just because of the USGA rules and the angles of how you actually set the club in there. So it's very different. When someone says, hey, Wade, build me a 45-inch driver, well, where'd you have that built at? Because then I have to think and make sure that I make it the right length as yours, even though it was made in another trailer.
Exactly why there is no industry standard. You can't live off industry standard, right? It's brutal.
No, when someone comes in and says, just make a standard 5-iron. Well, for who?
Yeah.
You have production, then you have tour. With tour, you know, you go from a guy that's got a 58-degree 3-iron to a guy that's got a 64-degree 3-iron. So there is no tour standard anymore. With adjustability and everything like that, it's completely out the door.
So you're talking there about the adjustability that's come in. You're talking there about you've got grips that are, I'm thinking Clarke, a lot of work. But then that brings me to Ernie Els with all the tapes he used to build up.
Yep.
Scottie Scheffler. So two players now that I've seen. Now Ledbetter and Els had this whole deal going with the grip, didn't they? How many tapes was that in the end?
I think he was probably up to eight pieces of tape. Scheffler is up to, Scheffler plays a 58 round with 7 pieces of tape. So it's, you know, people ask, well, why doesn't he just use a mid-size and use less tape? Well, I mean, the way he's playing, why are you going to change anything, right? So yeah, and there's been recent studies. Trevor Immelman was a big guy he worked with a coach, and the larger grip, he was able to swing the club faster.
Really?
And then it got to a certain point where it got too big and it slowed him down. So someone like Trevor Immelman, who used to play like a 60 round, is now playing a 58 with extra wraps of tape because they decided the bigger tape was able to swing faster. So a couple guys have done that, but not that many. I'm not sure if it ever caught on or what the deal was, but
Bryson's on it though. Bryson's on the jumbo grips all the time.
well, yeah, and people like John Daly, VJ Singh back in the day, Ernie Els, the players used a big grip because a larger grip, it takes longer for your hands to roll over, so you won't hit the ball left.
That was the old school.
That's the old school way. So Daly and those guys with the big jumbo grips, because if you think about it, your hand will roll over slower with a larger grip. With a smaller grip, it's going to turn over quicker. So just like fitting loft, shaft, you can also, as you know, custom fit a grip to a player.
Yeah.
So yeah, so grips, I mean, I've dealt with one guy, you know Bob Estes pretty well, like I do.
You'll have to Google him, Q.
Bob Estes was a big tinkerer, and his caddy who passed away, Chuck, which I loved, who was my great friend, Bob always liked to mess with stuff. One quick story, he came in, Monday morning, Chuck came in, I built Bob some drivers with a 60 Tour Velvet, small grip. And then the next day, Chuck's like, hey, can we go ahead and build Bob another driver? And I said, sure, no problem. So I built it, put a 60 grip on there, gave it to Chuck. Then Chuck goes, this is the wrong grip. I go, well, what do you mean? I go, that's what I did for him yesterday. He goes, oh, well, now he's playing a mid-size grip. So in less than 24 hours, he went from a 60 to a mid-size grip.
I had KJ Choi on the European truck at the Open Championship. Do you remember he had, what was his caddy called? The old boy that won the major with Faldo. Great guy. Anyway, he fell asleep in the chair because they were taking that long to get these grips going.
Yes.
And KJ was down on his knees in the grip drawer, and he got the digital scales and he put the scales down and he was weighing. So then that brings me to JR, Justin Rose, and the ribs. And obviously with JR, he wanted it on a certain clock position. That would be how they communicate that. So maybe if you can explain that. He falls to me in the same category as Colin Morikawa. They're quite finicky, which they should be. But you got to get it bang on, right?
Bang on, yes. And certain, I mean, players, I mean, your normal layman is not going to be able to tell if you're one tape short. But these players out here, they can tell you if it's one tape short, one tape too many. If it's a 58, it's a 60. So Colin, another one is where he does his irons, woods, and wedges all differently. So he has more wraps.
What's his thinking of that then?
It's because of the way the shafts taper. Yeah, like with Bob and those guys and KJ and sometimes Rose, we would actually use a caliper, and I would mark every inch on the grip, and I would actually measure it to make sure, because some shafts have steps, some don't. You know, some graphites taper more. So it's...
Tell the boys about the story when we went through a season or two with the notes written on the grip tape between the trucks in Europe and America. So when the European Tour, it went to like 9 events or minimum or something, and basically the Euro guys were over a lot. And there were players that would travel between the tours.
Yes.
and the lead technician in Europe would like write a little message to you.
We would write on the, yeah, because if you can write on the tape, and when you put the solvent on, it doesn't really
disappear.
Doesn't weird. So like all the European guys, I would put like wanker and stuff on the tape. So when they cut the grips off in Europe and they took it off, they would see wanker, and I got a great laugh out of it. So it was, and they would have some weird messages on mine too, but it was always USA versus Europe. And
good luck getting that in the video queue. It's got to go in there. So when you get to a stage with these players, I mean, is there anything that comes out now that is new to you that you haven't seen and done?
Well, I mean, the newest stuff now is the 7s and 9 woods. I mean, when we were working out here years ago, I mean, a 9 wood was for a 90-year-old guy to hit. But, you know, now we're building the 7 woods and 9 woods are, I think, taking more of the hybrid and long irons out of play.
Why do you think that is?
You can high launch, no spin. So with a driving iron, you're going to get that run after the ball hits the ground. And when you're trying to hold the green or whatnot, a 7-9 wood's going to go high, land, and you're done.
Yeah.
So rescues have always had a little rescue. Either players love them or hate them.
Yeah.
They hated them because we could never get the left out of them. Now that we did, now that they're good, that 7 wood, it's just a short wood. Just seems so easy to hit.
Yeah.
I always try to put a heavier shaft in there and a stiffer shaft in there. And like I said, every time I build a friend a 7 wood, I'm like, this is going to be your favorite club in the bag. And every single time I build one, they call me 2 weeks later, unbelievable club.
There you go, Q. I mean, the main man, is that not the best message for you on 7 woods?
That's it, we're good. That's all.
Who's been your 9 wood candidates? I know Dustin tried one.
Yeah, I mean, these things go so far too. These guys are hitting the ball so far. People ask me, you know, these guys hit it so far, it's got to be the product. Well, it's a product, but it's also the sleeves. It's how we fit them. You know, you can fit a person better where you can dial everything in. Where back in the day, we had to sit there and watch a guy hit a ball and go, well, yeah, that's okay. And there was no adjustments to it.
Yeah.
Now you can sit there, you know, before it was launch, right? And so you would see a lot of balls come and hit the fairway and stop. Well, now we have angle of descent.
Yeah.
So now we can get that ball to go this way, hit and run.
Yeah.
I mean, when's the last time you saw a ball driver plug in the fairway? You don't see that no more because
the launch monitors have changed everything.
100%.
Yeah.
The launch monitor, the sleeves,
Yeah.
everything has changed, and that's why these guys. I do a lot of junior tournaments, and these kids that weigh 125 pounds are hitting the ball 350.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
It's gotta be careful of injury then for the little guys, but yeah.
That and the one thing is I think the shelf life of a PGA Tour player is just going to get less.
Yeah. I think it's a fair comment. One thing that I noticed of you, which people might not think about this with this trailer, we went up to Olympic, I think, for the US Women's Open.
Yes.
Your relationship with Paula Creamer, unbelievable.
It's fun. I mean, it's luckily with this job, the first few years I was doing this, I was just stuck doing PGA Tour. Now that we have a new trailer, we're able to do more junior stuff, more lady stuff. I love working with the ladies. It's awesome. It's just nice to get some of these, you know, the PGA Tour is great, but, you know, it does get stale after a while. So it's nice to go hang out with the ladies, and especially the juniors. We do that Sage Valley tournament, and where the top kids are playing. And like I said, you know, PlayStation's in here. We're just having a party to see these young tour players. I mean, it's like miniature tour players. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the future for golf looks really, really good right now.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question before you leave, because I know you got to get on, and hopefully you can answer this because I've never asked you. Tiger's irons, dowel in the end of the shaft.
Yes.
Is it truth or not?
The last set I built, Tiger, we put dowels in.
So how's that process? That's an old school move.
It's old school. I mean, one story a long time ago, when he wasn't with us, he was with someone else, but in the Advil in Cog Hill in Chicago, we stayed, me and Eric Rogers stayed for the whole week.
Legend, by the way, Eric Rogers.
He was dating Fanny at the time.
Fanny
married.
Faldo's caddy.
So we were staying out because she was caddy, and Tiger bent his 9-iron.
On the truck?
No.
Oh, he did it on the golf course.
On plane.
Yeah.
So then, of course, they called Eric, and we didn't have any dowels. So what we did was we had a caddy pencil, and we shoved that inside the tip. It's like dampening. It's like the sensor cord.
So how do you know how far to cut that?
It goes about that far into the shaft.
What impact then on swing weight? You got to
no swing weight at all. Because I mean, the wooden dowel only weighs maybe a gram.
Yeah.
So it's not.
So he's doing it for field dampening.
Yes.
And he's still doing it today.
Last that I built them,
yeah,
dowels are in there.
Then Sergio and the back weighting. Still doing that?
The last set I built for Sergio, I did.
Why?
It's 20 grams in the.
That's so much weight.
20 grams in the metal woods, 30 grams in the irons. So what I do is I swing weight his clubs to like D2, and then when you put that weight in the back, it brings him down to like C6.
And what's his deal? Why does he want it?
I think it slows his hands down.
Okay.
So he doesn't get the shrimp.
They feel horrific though. Once you put the back weights in, you pick them up. They feel horrendous.
They do, but I mean, like I said, it's once again there is no tour standard.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Goose. I mean, Retief was insane. He's very good on the truck.
Yes.
Good with his hands, and he'd get in. We're going back a little while, so you know, obviously now, maybe wouldn't be accepted, but Goose is the man in the workshop, right?
Goose,
the best player you've seen on the belt.
Goose and Sergio love to do stuff. So I had aprons, of course, with my name on it, and I actually made Retief and Sergio their own apron, because Sergio and Retief used to come in here and grind other players' wedges. Retief is when you talk about getting player feedback on new product, Retief should have been in every single meeting we've ever had, because he was that good. Now he builds clubs for his son, but knowledge of a golf club, I don't think anyone was smarter than Retief Goosen.
I made an idiot of myself twice with him. One was lie angles on woods, and he just basically sat there, explained why he was right, and then walked off. And I was like, you're right. Putters. And what he was trying to achieve, I was putting the CG in the toe, and he was like, well, it's got to go in the heel. And I was like, why? And his explanation of how the putter would release in the angle it was set, the guy was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Absolutely unbelievable. He was the only one that ever made a comment about my club building.
Really?
Yeah. I ferrule ground one of his clubs, and he said it looked like a pregnant lady because I didn't smooth it out.
So you have to do it again.
So yeah. So it was I always had me and him always had something like that.
What's the most shocking thing you've ever been asked to do on this truck for someone?
That's tough. I mean, it goes back where I used to, back when we'd have to let the weights and everything. I remember one time I had to go to the sand trap and get a cup of sand and pour it down the putter shaft to make the putter heavier. Fuzzy.
Okay. Fuzzy Zoeller.
I thought he was joking when he said, go get some sand for the sand trap. I'm like, what are you talking about? But yeah, I mean, back in the day when we didn't have all the adjustable weights and everything, that's what we had to do. I mean, lead tape, sand, tungsten epoxy, lead taping the top of the shaft to get the swing weight right. I mean, now with the weights, everything is so much easier.
Do you prefer it when it was old school days with that when I started, it was heating up the titanium to bend the
Yes, I mean, that was more of an art to me. I mean, that's why we dominated so much. That's why they brought me out here in 2000, because I did a lot of bending. Back in the day, we were the only ones that could bend a metal wood. Titleist had a bore through, so if you bent it, you would crack the shaft. Callaway had no hosel, so you couldn't bend that. So yeah, I was taking 10.5 heads, and I was bending them all the way down to 7 degrees to make it open and not go left, because everything spun so much, and that's why we dominated. I mean, it was ridiculous. And 99% of everything we built had to be bent. you know, VJ Singh, we had 25 driver heads, and I was trying to bend a 10-5 to 8, and I broke like 19 heads in a row, trying to get one for him. And
he would have been world #1 at the time, so you got to do it.
Yes. And the worst part was when he was #1 at the time and he won those 8 or 9 tournaments, after he won 4 or 5 tournaments, he was still thought his driver went too high. So he goes, Wade, can you try to get a 1/4 degree off this?
And you're like, it's going to go.
So I said, VJ, is a good thing, and he's standing in here, and I bent it, and of course, you hear the dreaded, and he just walked right out of the trailer. So of course, I made him another one, and he still won another 4 or 5 tournaments. But yeah, I mean, there was more of an art form back there. It was, you know, nowadays, you can get one head in 7 different shafts. Back in the day, if you wanted to try different shafts, you had to build each club. It's a lot of heads.
I remember we mentioned a guy called Eric Rogers before. Eric said to me once that Faldo came up to him with the St. Andrews winning TPA 18 TaylorMade putter. Google it. This thing is iconic. Bowls onto the trailer in Europe, and he's like, I don't want to bend this thing. And he literally sort of like eased it in, took it back. Faldo said it was good, but you get to a point where you're like, man almighty, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like that thing right there is just impossible to bend. I had the same thing with Tiger. We were somewhere like either Charlotte or Detroit or somewhere, and he asks me to bend the putter.
You know, before a player got a club, if it had a little bit of left or right in it, he would work with that. Now, a guy can hit 20 shots perfect, hit one a little bit off, and the club's no good.
What's the job you like the most and the job you hate the most doing on here?
The job I like the most, believe it or not, is dealing with the people.
Yeah.
You know, the club, I've been building clubs for so long, and I can do it in my sleep. But you know, when you're talking to the young juniors, when you're talking to the public, when I'm able to educate them more about the product and everything like that, it to me, it makes me feel really good. Yeah. You know, slapping golf clubs together nowadays with all the fittings, you've kind of taken the art out of it because I'm not bending, I'm not doing that. But I mean, you know, using the different degree sleeves, being able to tip stuff is now how we're doing that artist stuff on the golf clubs. But once again, I just like when people come in here and I'm able to talk to them. I love what I do. It pretty much shows everyone, you know, that everyone knows I love doing this. So just to be able to share that with people makes my day go by. So
you've been so good with your time for me since I started this channel. I can't thank you enough. But also over the years, I'm trying to think what you used to say to me when I'd ask you over 2 decades or a decade and a half. I'd always come on his stroke, whether it was from Europe or obviously when I got to work here full time. Did you always used to say to me, Trotty, does my back say questions on it?
Yes, because Trotty would always ask questions, and my shirt doesn't say information on the back. Does not say information, so.
I appreciate your patience with me.
And I appreciate you letting us, because you're always a blunt of our booster seat jokes and moving the equipment down and getting the counters lower.
These counters are high for me. I got to jump to use some of them.
No, it's like I said, I miss you out here. I lived through this Instagram stuff through you.
I appreciate it, mate.
We had a hell of a good time doing it when you were out here.
You are welcome on my stuff anytime. Needless to say, if I can ever help. I'm going to put all his social media stuff in the description. He doesn't post a lot, but the questions and the information, I'm asking them for a reason. He's one of my favorite people in the whole game of golf that I've met. That's players, agents, social media people. This man knows everything about golf equipment. What screwed me up in this one video is I'm now off to making my grip sticker to see if I get more speed. That's my worry.
That is a true thing. I'm not joking around. That is a true thing. And believe it or not, real quick on that is if all these junior tournaments I do, they're all playing mid-size.
Jesus Christ.
Why is that? Is that for the left? Is that for the speed? I'm not sure, but check that out.
You're killing me. The guy's killing me. Comments down below. Be sure to subscribe. If you love Wade, anytime I can get him on, we try and get him on. He's always beauty. Top man, mate.
You got it, man.